Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks, Christina. Well, welcome to our first mastermind of September. It's September 13th. So, last week was Labor Day. We're kind of in that back to school, back to business, back to work mentality. So we have a really big training calendar for you guys this month, as well as October. We're already starting that. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you, Rania, for coming on and really collaborating with Bill and with everyone on the call today to really kind of really be focused on working with buyers and what that process looks like, as well as your journey through your real estate career. So thank you for your time today. I'm going to turn it over to Bill to really kind of kick us off and get us going. Go ahead, Bill.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Rania, for taking the time, like Matt said, to be here with us today. For the agents that are tuning in today, this is the beginning of something that I want to do a little more regularly, and it's basically bring our ALC members right to the forefront. There's a reason they're on our ALC. Everybody brings a little different flair and flavor, right? And it's important to understand that the agents on the ALC are really responsible for implementing policy, process, and changes, right, that take place inside of our market center. Also, the ALC really stand for the agent body in our office, right? This is something so rare in the Keller Williams world. In fact, Gary Keller says this is the most important component out of everything in all Keller Williams is that the decision, the input, the changes that take place, both on a market center level and on a national level, all take place through our agent leadership council, right? And that these are the folks that if you do have a challenge and for whatever reason, maybe something's not sitting right with you and you're not comfortable with reaching out directly to leadership, you can reach out to an ALC member who would be comfortable, I'm sure, reaching out to leadership and making sure that every single agent in here has a voice that's heard in a way that's most comfortable for them. So as far as our ALC interview for today, I'd like to welcome Rania Naporlee, right? For those of you who have—
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hey, for those of you who have met Rania really, to me at least, embodies what prosperity was built for and built about, right? If you look at our vision statement that is on the wall of the training room, it's a positive, fulfilling, collaborative agent community that upholds itself to the highest ethical standards. If I take that and run Rania over it, right, that comes out a 10 out of 10 on every single one of those. I don't think I've ever heard you be negative, right? I mean, your disposition, I think anyone who knows you would say is naturally extremely positive, right? So there's an energy that comes with that. Collaboration is never something that we have to even ask for. You're an active part of a whole bunch of committees, right? The culture committee. So a lot of experiences that agents get to see here, come from you, your input, your energy, and you're not out there boasting for credit either. So I want to make sure that I give that credit where it's due.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You got it. In our conversations, nearly everyone that's on a market center level is always revolving around fulfillment for the agents in the market center, right? So that's the third check there too. And when it comes to ethics and highest ethical standard, I mean, we've had probably half a dozen conversations about that too, and how near and dear you hold that as a representation of who you are, right? And that shows up in your business, and honestly, it shows up in our market center. So I'm super grateful, for that, and I'm beyond grateful to be able to really introduce you to the agent community here as a whole. Maybe some of those who haven't had the honor of meeting you yet. So I'm going to jump in, ask you a couple questions about your business, right? Very, very relatable, and at the same time, very productive. So I think you might be coming at this from a little different angle than the agent with a huge team, right? Who's given all the textbook answers that you might see in the MREA. And yet you've been able to really build your own brand of real estate. Again, that's highly productive and pretty relational. So first, I'd like to check, when I talk to an agent, it amazes me how many different just general philosophies there are around real estate. So if you wouldn't mind just starting us off, like, what what does the real estate business look like to you from a philosophy perspective? How do you perceive it? How do you see that?
First, I would like to say thank you for having me here. I really am grateful. It is a wonderful atmosphere we're in, and I'd love to be part of it always. How I feel, real estate in general, it is an essential. People need to be placed in a safe shelter. I feel strongly that it's about helping those in need, whether it's a home, business space, apartment. They all need a roof over their heads. So it is an essential. Let's just make that clear. And in general, it is about helping. We're not in sales. We're not in sales. Please always repeat that. We're not in sales. We do need to know what we're selling, but helping is where we stand. That's where that's the philosophy of the real estate market. We're in business that everyone wants to talk about. Whether you're at the supermarket, in school, at your kid's soccer game, people ask questions about real estate. So we are in that market to speak about it. And that's it's basically due diligence is also part of the job. No matter research, it's all about research and disclosure, ethics, assertive. I think these are all on our board, right?
Yeah. So, I would say, and kind of listening, through to your answer there, we had a couple different components. One thing, if I drilled down on the early part of that, right, is that we are not in sales, right? At times, our business can lean into sales, right? Some sales techniques, things like that. But really at its core, I think what I'm hearing is we're in a service business, right? And part of what energizes you is that it's not just a service business to provide a service, that you view this as an essential piece of the puzzle of life, right? So when we look at it, it's almost an honor, right, to serve in that capacity. Would that be, a correct interpretation there?
It's exactly what it is. It's exactly what you just said.
Awesome. Yeah. So that drill down, guys, is so important, because if you talk to 50 agents, some sound kind of alike, but a lot of them are totally different, right? And our ability as an agent to really start to connect with someone who inspires us, to grow, a lot of times begins with us having alignment at its core, right? And for some people in this business, it is a production-based feeling, right? It's like, hey, I can earn a ton in this business and of course help people on the side. Note that for Rania, it's very different, right? Her initial thoughts are, hey, this is an essential piece of that game called life, and I'm here to provide that service, for them. You also, mentioned ethics, right? Being first, right? Transparency and doing your due diligence. So, my understanding and my communications with you over the years is you really feel an obligation to protect, right, to a certain level,
Always.
those who you represent, not just yourself, right, but to protect them. So let me ask you, in hearing that, do you ever feel like the clients feel that, like when you're approaching the business that way, do they feel that? And then how do you think that plays into your business in general?
Well, the first thing they tell me is you point out the negatives I'm showing a property and I do see issues. I worry about that. And not only on the inspection, of course, we all rely on the inspection, but I point out, and there are times I tell them, you're not buying this house. They feel protected. There are things that I disclose to them right up front, whether it gets water, whether the roof is shot. Those are things that they don't really know. They really don't. And why spend money only for it to fall apart? I prepare them for that. Obviously, I don't just tell them, oh, you can't buy this. I disclose all the information, and they feel protected. They feel that extra protection, and they know I'm on their side.
It's interesting. So over the years, I would say that the number one thing that I have heard from buyers who are saying, I no longer want to work with my agent anymore. Well, there's two of them, right? One of them is they don't respond. Number two, and sometimes these flip first and second, is I feel like they're just pushing me to buy whatever we're in, right? I walk in the door and it's like just trying to create this environment where they have to purchase that home, even if it's not the right place for them. So, you coming at this from a totally different perspective, right? You're coming at it in a way that is educational, right? And explaining these things to them, pointing them out, and then allowing them, you said at the end, you don't just come out and tell them not to buy it, right? But you're making sure that you're giving them all the details so that they can make an educated decision, not just looking at the pretty kitchen and the gleaming hardwood floors, right? And saying, oh my God, I love it.
The only time I tell them not to buy something if it literally is on the river,
Right.
and it's priced high.
Right.
It's like a double whammer for me. It's just like I just can't sleep at night.
Right. Yeah. I just offer them a little boat as a closing gift, right? With our logo on it. So
I've said that before.
I love it. So guys, even this is why I really love the concept of bringing the agents on here, because just this first couple minutes of this conversation has sounded so much different than a lot of the other conversations that we've had, right? When we bring in, a sales trainer from somewhere, they're saying exactly what you should be hearing from a book, right, on productivity, but they're not really getting into the nitty and gritty and how a single agent here without a team has built an absolutely incredible business, right? So let me ask you, Rania, we take that to the next step. From a protection standpoint, right, from looking out for them, from viewing the business, like this is an essential process for them. You're going to walk them through. They're aware that you're looking out for them. How do you continue to keep that kind of relationship after the closing, right? So you've closed, they're super grateful. Are you doing anything after that to stay connected, or you just saying a prayer that they're going to call you in 7 years when it comes time again?
No, I actually do very well keep connected with all my clients. First, and I'm a source to them for whether painters, contractors, plumbers, electrician. So I always open that book telling them that they can always reach out to me. And there's almost every single time they're going to need something in the first year. That covers kind of itself. But the ones who have given me referrals in the past, I take advantage of the programs that we offer here at Keller Williams, such as the pie giveaway program that we have during the holiday season. And anyone who's given me a referral in the past, whether it's 1 or 10, they're going to get a pie delivered to their front door right around Thanksgiving. And we do have that program. We offer it, and you're going to hear it around. We're going to start it up very soon. The other thing, it's mostly really the auto-generated emails that we use. Everybody gets the email on eEdge, and obviously we're transitioning to multiple different ways. There's multiple different methods, but I know I'm not good with the other one yet. I haven't established it perfectly, so I'm still using eEdge. Shame on me, but it works. People get my emails all the time, every single month. Also, for an example, I'll give everyone an example. During the pandemic, I had nothing to do but to text all my sphere, all my database to check up on them. Hey, how are you? How's everything with the kids? How's mom doing? Or anyone. Do you need anything? Is there anything that you're missing that you need? Just that little touch brought me, I would say, 10% of my business last year in 2020. So that worked. But don't just stop during a pandemic. Always follow up to see at least once a year, whether it's a holiday during the holidays, whether it's the time that they purchase their property, wish them a happy anniversary in their house, but always connect with the sphere, with your whole entire sphere database.
Love it. So guys, we hear this, and this is where we start to get to the interesting part, where even though agents have totally different philosophies on the business as a whole, we really start to drill down when we talk about maintaining relationships and stuff on things that start to sound a lot alike, right? So our successful agents, when we ask this question, tend to say the same answer in different kind of words, right? And this really gets split into two parts from what I'm hearing. And it's so funny because we had our mindset meeting for our team this morning, and our mindset for this week was make sure we're always conveying value, right? So we're not always just asking for business or asking for things, and this can kind of become a natural disposition every once in a while when you've been in the business for a while. Like, hey, I've known this person for a long time. They bought the house from me, so I'm just checking in, hey, just checking in, right? Without that exchange of value. So what I heard from Rania at the beginning, and I believe there's a reason it came first, is she offers herself as a resource, right? And she said at the beginning of this interview so far that she thinks of herself as a source, right? That was something that one of the very first things she said. That constant giving of value allows her, without even asking for it, allows her to receive that business back, right? So it's a give and a take. We can't just ask for business. We have to be in that position of giving. So one is create value and give value. Number two is constant touches, right? Over the course of a year, someone needs to be touched. In a world that we're in today, where there is so much noise out there, so much noise, so many every realtor mother is posting every house, right, that they put on under contract, sold, active on social media. The people in your sphere are seeing that, right? And that's a battle. And I hate to put it that way, but it's a battle for mind share. And you have to be careful that you don't become a secret agent where nobody hears from you, nobody knows from you or knows of you, even the people that knew you really closely before, because over time, those other folks with all those little touches can start to win that mind share. So Rania talked about, and she said, her bad, right, for still being a market leader. That's not a bad at all, right? That's more than a lot of agents in our business as a whole do, period, right? They don't have any consistent touches, right? Or it's all focused in social media. So no matter where your contacts are, no matter what your system is, and some are more free than others, right? Make sure that you're finding a way to touch people consistently. The pie giveaway is a way for her to what? Touch. Is there value associated in giving somebody a pie? Sure, right? But the real part of that is the idea, right? Around Thanksgiving, it's that exchange of the value of basic thank you, right? And deepening, connecting that relationship. And that's positioning against all that noise that they're hearing out there. And then in a pandemic, it's a blend of both, right? You're touching people and you're also offering value. I'm sure those conversations Rania had with them were asking, hey, is there anything you need help with, right? Can I help you with anything? So there's that, hey, I'm giving something, and the laws of this universe work in that same way. You give, you receive, right? Is that an accurate kind of drill down? So we break it into those two things. I asked how we manage to keep in close relationship, right? To keep that business going. One, Rania offers value, right? Consistently. And that value to her, and I'm sure there's other ways, is offering, assistance, connections, who can help with certain things. And the other is maintaining steady contact. And it doesn't have to be a $15,000 boomtown process, right? It's something real simple that's just touching and getting your name back in front of them. So when we're talking about past clients, the relationship is built, right? They're there. Let's talk a little bit about for agents from newer to now, what Rania does to find new clients, or did to find new clients, to build the business to where you're at, because those are two different angles, right? What you got?
You have to go to the town local business fairs. There's one actually happening in Wayne on September 26th, I think it was, or the 27th. I believe it's a Sunday, and it's the 26th. Every town just about has a local business fair. Uh, Set up your stand. Well, we're going to have one already there. So get in, bring your face in front of the public, show them that you're a realtor. There's, like I said, even at the supermarket, everywhere you go, speak of real estate. There's a rule that was given to me about 12, 13 years ago. Speak to at least 10 people a day about real estate, and I guarantee you success. 10. I don't care who it is, cousin, they're going to remember, and they're going to remember a conversation they had with their friend or somebody's friend's mother who wants to sell. Your biggest fear is your family. They're actually your biggest cheerleaders. I wrote also here on my notes, go be available for public open houses and do them often. And I'm not saying once every month or twice a week is when you should. And if you could do it 3 times a week, do it. Every successful agent in this office will tell you these are the best free leads. They're free. You just sit there and you collect buyers. No money has to be brought out, and you're learning. In the beginning of your business, it's all about the open houses. It really is. This is where I got my sphere I built my clientele from. And the next one, you don't just pick up buyers and you leave them. You follow up with them. You leave them, they're gone. In fact, they're in somebody else's database. They're so gone. They're fast. There are agents that actually collect names and put them on an automatic email. So if you don't touch them that very same day, you may lose them. So you have to do at least 3 touches with them in the beginning to just get them out. I wrote also another thing. And social media was a big thing. Facebook, especially the Facebook platform. It is a social media. It's free. There's also, I had good past and recent experience with Zillow. Zillow is not cheap. It is buying leads, but it works, and you will get leads that way. They're viable clients. They're pretty much viable. These are the free marketing tools are Facebook and open houses. Those are your 2 free sources. Everything else you have to pay for it. But what I also do is budget aside. Every sale that I sell, I put away 5% toward marketing. That's also very important. Maybe you do postcard mailings. They still work, but you really have to hit them hard and zoom in on a very small radius and hit them hard. I know agents from this office, most of their business come from that.
Love it.
So open houses, Facebook platform, and speak to 10 people per day, not per week, about real estate. And I guarantee you success.
Awesome. She put a guarantee on it, guys. That's when you know it's real. Let me ask you a question. So, open house. Have you ever gotten a listing from an open house?
Absolutely.
So you're saying
absolutely.
Right? And a lot of people don't look at it that way. So when you said open houses, I think a lot of people just look at that for buyer acquisition. Let me tell you, you're hosting an open house. If you host 10 open houses, I guarantee you didn't even know it, but you went on at least 2 listing appointments in those 10 open houses, because a neighbor who's thinking of selling is walking through your open house, right? And the way you play in that open house is likely to dictate whether or not you have a shot at that actual listing. I can't tell you how many times I was in that field doing the open houses, and that call would come in the next day and say, hey, I ran into you yesterday at this house. We're thinking of selling our home. We'd like to talk to you, right? You don't know it. And this also tells you in that open house, you better do something a little different, right? Try to stand out. And whether that's even just connecting a little deeper with somebody, the dialogue that you use, what you provide them, right? Make sure that when they come through, they remember not only the house, but that they remember you, because you are very often on listing presentations, so you don't even know it. So Rania, that's an awesome piece of advice to start there, especially for new agents, for both buyers and sellers, which is not something that's usually looked at. I also want to touch on something else that you briefly mentioned, and it was that you reinvest your business. Right? So many agents take every dollar back out of the business. And you said 5% of your closings stay in the business, right? They stay in a business account. And
Absolutely.
over time, that gives you fuel, right, to continue to grow, right? You can't continue to take all of your food and eat it, because then you're constantly looking for new food, right? If you store it away, that gives you the energy to go hunting again, and not only go hunting, but to do it in a more strategic way. You mentioned the farm, right? Which is really considered an old school way, but still effective. And you said you got to hit it hard, right? So we have a partnership with Tobias Title, right? That title company has a full marketing company. If you select a farm and send them the breakdown, I actually think they'll even help you put together the breakdown of the addresses. They'll create the content and mail it to those same addresses every single time you ask them to, right? And if you're saving a little bit of each closing and then just using that for the cost of, you don't even have to pay for creation, just the cost of mailing on the other end, you're starting to hit those people, just like we were talking about the emails before, right? And build that mind share up. So I love that. Melissa,
And there's still people who really want to see that piece of mail. There's so many of them. They're old school people. How many people are downsizing or just selling because they're just can't do the house anymore and they wanted to go to an assisted living? Those are the people who are looking at those postcards, most of them.
right. And if you're going to
And
do
they
it,
will call you.
and if you're going to do it, do something different, right? Same thing as that open house, because people do, and I hear this all the time, they open their mail up over the garbage can. They do, but that doesn't mean you can't get your touch in that 1 second, because they're going to look at it, right? Give them something to remember in that second they look at it. They see that enough times, they're going to remember you when it comes time, right, to make that move. So I'm going to kind of wrap all together, right? When we talked about the activities to find new clients, it was engage, put yourself in a place where you're having those conversations. You can knock out 10 conversations, in a day at an open house. 2 open houses a week was Rania's recommendation, right? In order to really build that critical mass. She is not pretending that she doesn't use Zillow, right? Surprise, agents use it. I'm sure she's not spending $20,000 a month on it, but I am sure that's a part of supplemental, right? Making sure that we're diversifying our lead gen. This would be a very different call if she said, all of my business is from Zillow. No top agent in our office will be saying that, because it's impossible, right? And if they are doing it, then they're in for a rude awakening when the market shifts on them. So this is a supplemental piece of the puzzle, but it was also one of the last things she mentioned. And unfortunately, that's the first place a lot of new agents go. So we look at some of the organic pieces of the puzzle, right? We're talking about the open houses. We're talking about having those conversations, 10 conversations a day, supplementing it with some mailing. Every closing we have, we're leaving some energy in that pot to build more energy. It just makes sense. And the snowball continues. Is that an accurate depiction of that, right, answer that you gave there, Rania?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
Shameless plug here for Tobias Marketing Company. Melissa Smith put in the chat that she just used them and they were awesome. Melissa, I believe, has been in the business 2.5 months. Melissa has several listings and a few under contract already. So she is guns blazing, right? And right.
All right.
Right in alignment with what it is that we're talking about. And I know she's doing a ton of grassroots, to connect with people, just like Rania staying here. So I'm going to take a minute and shift. I'm going to shift gears, right, out of production. We do those things that we just talked about to create the business. We talked about the things you do to keep that business cycling, circulating. Let's talk about life itself, right? So Rania is a mother, right? You have a family, and you've been able to maintain a fundamentally sound, solid business for all these years and somehow do it all. Can you maybe give some insight to somebody either starting or in the business a long time who's having a little trouble doing the two because you don't have a team? How do you do it?
I actually do have a team at home. And my husband is part of that team. He juggles everything at home. He helps me big time. So it is going to be very hard for those who are doing it alone, single parent type of thing. But it's not impossible because seeing it happen, but I can't speak for them. But I do have a big major support at home. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I am today. Let's be for real. It's just impossible for me to cut my time that much. But I do have a lot of help at home. But everything's negotiations in my household. Everything. For me to be out so much, they understand that if I'm not out doing my work, making money, they're not going to go to Starbucks every day, guys. Pliables? None of that. So they get a lot of things because, I have to make a certain amount in order for us to live a certain specific lifestyle. So they understand it's all connected. One of the things they even talk about my job to their friends and their friends' parents. They make sure to mention that I'm a realtor. They know if we get at least two, we have a base income in the house, and anything over that amount goes toward fun, vacation. And now this year, they know if I have two extra sales on top of our maximum bracket where we need to definitely make, they're going to get a brand new bathroom out of it for them to use. They have seen, they're even getting involved with the colors of the tiles. So now they're excited. So the last thing I remember, my youngest daughter telling me, Mom, aren't you supposed to be at work? I want that bathroom redone.
Wow.
So it's called negotiations. And I read a little bit of they are my biggest fans. My kids, I do share with them a lot of the stories that happen at work. I don't come home and not talk about work. I do come home and I talk about certain things that was fun that I mentioned and I know they're gonna get their license as soon as they hit 19 or 20 years old. I think that the younger one, it will probably be a realtor. And as you all know, my husband, or some of you know, my husband's also a licensed realtor. So he helps out as well.
Awesome. Awesome. So that was totally not the answer I expected, and it was awesome. So basically you have recruited rather than tell your family, I'm working, this is my time here, and when I have time, I'll spend it with you. You've actually included them in everything, including prospecting. And indirectly, you bonus your family based on your production. So they're out there getting you leads. You said you have your family.
They get excited because they get something out of it too. Absolutely. Build the whole entire team. Now, don't get me wrong. I do spend a lot of times with them. I do dedicate a certain days of the month with them. And then every single morning, they both ask me, what's your schedule look like today? So they can fill their part in if they need me for something. They said, okay, well, why don't you do this so-and-so between 1 and 3 today since you're not working? And I'm like, sure, blocked right on my schedule.
That's awesome.
They come first.
That's great. So family first, right? That's on the wall upstairs too, right? We have our order of operations. So they're first in the business. You said you have your days, just blocked off do you handle your calendar on a monthly basis, yearly, weekly? How do you look at that?
All of it, and a daily.
Okay. So we break it.
It goes from quarterly. I can't do yearly. It's just too much. I do quarterly, few months in advance, weekly, and daily, every single day. And as they need it, and I fill it in, there's no such thing as me saying, oh, hold on, let me see if I'm available. I'll make myself available if it comes to my family.
Awesome. And then
and remember, it's a family-owned business. We all have to treat it as a family-owned business. When you own a restaurant, the kids are chopping, doing dishwashing, they're helping out. It's the same. It's a family-owned business.
Pretty cool philosophy. I've actually never heard it presented like that, right? And I'm gonna flip some stuff on my end too, because I think it's great. You're also teaching them valuable lessons about business, right? In a time where there's a lot of entitlement, just based on the way the world works in today's world. This is teaching them from a young age. You don't get this until this happens, right? That there's a sacrifice, there's a give and a take and everything that takes place. You're able to teach that to them without even really saying it, right? It's through the natural process. They're on the ride with you in a business, and I'm, from the sound of it, far more prepared to enter it than a lot of others might be too. Do you have a structured day off, Rania, weekly?
So I used to have Tuesdays as my structured day off. Every Tuesday, I would just unwind. Lately, I've been leaning more toward Thursdays for some weird reason. And as the summer is kind of slowing down, I'm starting to work again on Sundays, because Sundays was another day off I was taking. And I was doing open houses on Saturday. It doesn't necessarily have to be on Sundays. But during the summertime, I really like to spend my time, most of my Sunday, with my family. So I try to do Tuesdays and Sundays. Now I'm leaning more toward Thursdays and Sundays.
I think it's very realistic for an agent operating at any productive capacity to look at a week with one day off. Let's be honest, we're in a different business, right? With one day off, and then another target day off if they can pull it off, right? So it's perfect. One of the benefits of growing a strong support system is it allows you to shift that day to a weekend. It's hard in a busy season as a single agent to take weekend days off, right? But I know for years, my day was always a Wednesday. For whatever reason, that was just the quietest day for me, for attorneys, mortgage companies, and everything. And it allowed me to disconnect, check my texts every couple hours, right? People didn't know I was off on Wednesday at the beginning. Then I transitioned it into actually educating my clients that I had the day off, right? Because we feel guilty about that. But when you have a family and when you have a body, which everybody does, it's really important that you do that. You give yourself that reset, right? So that you can jump in that much stronger when you end up bouncing back. And without it, it becomes just this never-ending cycle. When we explain to a client, and I don't know if this is something you do or not, but when you really explain to a client your hours, you can easily justify a day off. So, hey guys, here it is. You can always reach me if there's an emergency, right? But I will let you know that I do take Wednesdays off. I take off one day a week. And everybody's like, what? Yeah, one day a week I take off. And again, an emergency, you can still reach me. Every other day I'm on from 8 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. So, 6 days a week. Now they're like, mind is blown how many hours you're on, not that one day you're off. They want to give you that day off. Everybody, when I was in that mode, was like, it was your day off yesterday, I didn't reach out, right? They're looking out for you because they know you now work a heck of a lot more than they do, and you deserve that day off. So I'm glad you work to protect that. And you're also nimble with it to the point where, for whatever reason, you said you shifted Tuesdays to Thursdays. Now, I don't recommend somebody shifts every week because then it's really hard to set it.
Not always, just lately.
Right.
Yeah,
But
just lately.
You have that intention to where you're not plugging appointments in, right? And it's a little different mode when you go into that day off. All right, cool. So let's kind of bring it all together. We talked about production at the beginning. We've talked a bit about life here and what you're doing. If let's talk to newer agents just for a second. If you were a newer agent, knowing everything that you know now, what, if anything, would you do differently?
I would do more cold calls and warm calls, whatever you want to call them. They actually do work. In fact, I had a client of mine who told me, hey, Rania, someone from your office just called me the other day, and I know she's selling. She's gonna want to sell soon. And we talked about real estate, but I told them I'm already working with you. But she could have easily shifted and actually welcomed them to her house, knowing that she's about to sell. Never, I mean, the old rule was to call people, touch them somehow, whether it's door knocking, but because of COVID, it's obviously best right now to just pick up the phone and call. They do work. I hated it. I'll be honest with you. I couldn't stand doing it. I'm just not that kind of person. I need to speak to people in front of them to get it, but they work. They work.
Yeah. So
There's more though.
all right.
Mailings work.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Mailings work. I would do what I would do more differently, because I didn't do a lot of mailings when I first started. I would do that. Also, very important, non-tech savvy people with our industry and the way we are very tech savvy, not just our company, just in general, our everyday life is very techy. If you don't know and you didn't perfect, whether it's command, any source of way, hire someone, pay them $15 an hour, $20 an hour, whatever they work. I regret not doing that. They would have had me running my business by now, up and running. Now I built is such a big, large platform. Now I'm having a hard time catching up. But start and get someone to specialize in that to help you with that. Put the investment in, get them to build your basics online, whether it's website based, buy boosters, all these things. They're very, they're alien to me. I don't know how to do them, but I wish I started with someone that did.
So awesome, right? So what I'm hearing there is, and we cut our teeth in the same market, right? Creating our business. There's so many more resources now than then. Like the virtual admins didn't really exist much back then, right? Your VAs,
No.
Cyber backers, right? People that can help us with that stuff where you don't have to hire. Back then it was like, oh my God, I got to hire a full-time person, right? I'm nervous. Now you can really get some specialized pieces. And what I heard from you is your business is to the point now where it's really hard to go back into it and create those processes, where if you would have created the process at the beginning, the whole thing would be built off of it. Is that an accurate understanding?
Exactly that. So every new agent, do the cold calls or warm calls, whatever you want to call them, and hire someone to do that. The same way we hire a photographer to shoot our houses, you need to hire someone to basically do your platform. Otherwise it gets overwhelming. And instead of you learning the actual real estate world, like the real, how to sell a house, like get in there, pick up clients. Now you have to worry about your database and a whole bunch of other technology foundation that, like I said, it's alien to me, but to most people, even if you know it, don't let that be your job. That's an admin position. If you wanted that, then you apply for an admin. You're a realtor. You should be out in the field.
Well put. And honestly, we faced that exact same situation, right? We built our business in a world where there was no models, right? We were the model and we thought we had it down. And then we hit our head on the ceiling for 5 years straight and couldn't figure out what the problem was. And it wasn't until we got here that we were like, okay, I remember sitting in a classroom with Chris Suarez teaching level 1 through 7 on team building, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. We have an upside down, backwards, twisted level 6 team, and we can never get to level 7 from where we were unless we rewind it to a level 4 and start to build it from there. And that's really what I'm hearing from you too, is, even from that targeted agent perspective, that if you get these systems and this stuff in place early, it will not only vault you where you need to get faster, but then all the systems will be in place so you don't have to scramble, because you're at a point where you don't even have time to go backwards, right? And start to really
no time.
And
so that's my biggest challenge.
Yeah. And when the business is so big, if you hire somebody to come in, they're going to be like, oh my God, right? It's hard to be.
Exactly. And it's hard to let go as well. But from the beginning, if you train yourself that this is not what you're supposed to be doing, let someone else do that part. Believe me, that's so much easier. And then you're building money. That's where you're supposed to be, out there making money, not doing the clerical work. Someone else needs to do that. I don't care where you are, whether you're in barely making money, put aside the money for an admin, because that's where it starts at, not just the JS, fees or what so. Because a lot of people getting hired on board, there's a lot of fees involved in this. But what's an extra $500? At that point, you're already at $2,000 or $1,500. to
Right.
just begin your business. To be honest with you, that's huge, huge.
Yeah, and
Build the foundation from day one.
and the risk is really short. If it's not working, you can switch the person, right? Scott Stewart just said, build a strong foundation, no hobo shacks, right? We're gonna end up getting out of it the stability that we put into it, right? I did Brazilian jiu-jitsu for a long time. I used to compete and stuff. When people would come in, they wanted to learn all the flashy moves, right? How to finish someone this way or that way without really understanding the fundamentals of control. We always said position before submission. If you're able to hold somebody in a position where they can't get out, you got all day to figure out how you're going to submit them. If you don't understand that and you go for a submission right away, because that's the flashy thing that everyone wants to learn, you're going to get beat because someone's going to turn you right or something like that. You're not going to have the stable foundation in order to win. So I like to, apply it to different schools of thought there too. I know the one other question that I had said is, what advice would you give to agents in the market center looking to grow their business? I think you've covered most of that, right, through this. Was there anything else that you wanted to add in there? If not,
it's very easy. It's called the Keller Williams tools. We have them. Use them.
Awesome.
They all are there. Use them.
Yeah, and that's easier said than done, right? Because in this office, in this company, there's so many, it can almost become a paralysis by analysis, right? You're just always thinking, okay, I'm going to get to that before I perfect it. But even if you're only doing it at 50% capacity.
Just do one thing, one tool, command, just do one thing and it'll work.
Right.
Just like a diet. We know there's 200 of them out there or thousands of them. You stick to one and it will work.
Keep it simple. There's also a book by Gary Keller, The One Thing, right? It's that philosophy.
The one thing.
So I'm going to let you close this out. We're a couple minutes over. When I bring on our ALC members, I want them to give us their craziest real estate story, right? Anybody who's been in this business any decent period of time has seen some stuff, right? As I would call it. So let's hear something, that you've experienced out there that might make our eyes open a little bit more.
So there was two stories, but I'm just going to stick to one because the other one's a little bit way too crazy. I think I'll save it on a night when we're all, anywho, but one time, it was a few years ago, I had a bank foreclosure. We needed to close on that day. If we didn't close on that day, there was a whole bunch of resets and my investor was a cash buyer. We did this whole thing in less than 3 weeks. There was an issue that came up on the morning of the closing. Luckily, it was a day I was able to, free up like little to get it done. It was a foreclosure, and we all know with foreclosures, there's no real representation on the other side. So you're doing all the work. And we're stuck at the part where there's supposed to be a judgment on the water bill. This was a property in Clifton, and it belonged to Passaic Water, and that is located on Main Street in Patterson, actually, or no, Clifton, sorry, in Clifton. How are we going to order a final water and get them to the house in the same day? That's not going to happen. I tried. They said there's absolutely no one, and the next time it can be read is in 5 days, and the bank will not hold escrow. So that means my client could be responsible for $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 bill. We don't know, and this is not cheap. So what do? I'll show you a picture. Can you see it? Oh, this way, sorry. This is me carrying a water meter. Yes, I dismantled the water meter and I took it to Passaic County Water Department. I say, okay, you can't go there now. Here, take the meter and read it right now and give me the bill. They were so shocked. They didn't know how to react. They're like, but this is a water meter. How did you? I'm like, don't ask questions. Read the meter. Give me the bill right now. And sure enough, it was about $1,400. $1,400 that I saved my client because he needed to close that day.
That's incredible.
Crazy story.
That's incredible. I will.
It worked.
I will throw a caveat in there, guys. Bank-owned property, the water is shut off, right? So if the water is on, I do not recommend you remove the water meter, because then you'll have a couple of other problems cascading down the street, right? But
Yes,
that is awesome, right? Creativity at its best. You were protecting them, and you were creative in it, right? I wouldn't.
it
thought
was
that.
very creative.
Sure.
I mean, who would think about grabbing the water meter and bringing it to them?
That is
That was
amazing.
different. That was different.
I love it, and I'm excited to hear about that other one too. So we'll save that. I'll screen that before bringing it to everybody next time. But Ronnie, I want to thank you again for taking the time to be with us today. I really appreciate you sharing.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. So guys, look for Rania around the office, right? Feel free to reach out to her and thank her for her time and energy with you guys today. And again, super grateful to have her as part of our ALC. She represents all of you on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, and yearly basis. And we look forward to watching her continue to grow her business like she has in an insane way
Thank you.
since she came here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everybody.
Bye, everyone.